Not just Tesla, but a few other companies are doing some pretty nasty things on our roads, aren't they, Matt?
Yeah, well, San Francisco's road specifically, I mean, stuff has gone insane. I'll censor myself a little bit. Bronco March Teach has a good write-up of Jacobin on the regulatory sort of allowance for way more companies than just Cruise, who we're going to tee off on here in a second. There's a lot of companies with cars just experimenting on the roads. This is just data collecting, beta testing on the road that you and your loved ones used to get to work every day. And I have made a compilation. I've left Adobe Premiere for DaVinci Resolve, so I'm now a compilation editor. And I've made this compilation featuring a number of videos of cruise fails. And here's the first one from a TikTok user, a high with low. It was funny, like a bunch of the places that cited this video didn't say her username. I had to actually go to the page to find it because it was high with low. It's about getting high, which, respect low. And here is this. This is one of the first ones that came to my mind because this period hasn't only been going for like a few weeks in this sort of intensity. It coincided with the Outside Lands Festival, which is in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, where a bunch of music festivals play in the park. And the excuse for this was that the network got overloaded, and we'll put a peg in that, but here's this first video.
This driverless car that's been stuck in the road for God knows how long caused mayhem outside of the festival. Oh my God.
Okay.
Homie.
Oh no. Hurts so bad. Thank God that thing doesn't have emotions because it would be shooting sand.
It's causing mad confusion over here. Oh no. Meanwhile, there's a car over here blocking the train.
Is that a person?
Yeah, but like it was a person, but they were on the train tracks, like blocking them from because there's no one in there. Oh no, this person's not taking the zipper effect into account, and this guy's still there. Please let my boy in. What is that?
Another one.
Oh my God.
So now what we have is one malfunctioning and a different one, a Waymo, having to figure out how to navigate around.
Well, is this about to be an ad for Waymo? Is about to get through?
It does look like a little W for Waymo, but I mean, we'll have to maybe turn
No, this shit sucks across the board.
This is such an embarrassment.
Cruise might be the worst, though, from what I've seen.
Cruise, I mean...
Because they have them here now, too. You know that?
Oh, for real?
Yeah, no, I think we played a video of them. We played a video of them, like, downtown, like... It must have been like 6th Street or something like that.
Oh, right.
It's like 3 a.m, and they just go into the bike lane and just gun it like 50 miles per hour.
Right, that's Cruise. I mean, Cruise takes the biggest L's, and I'm not sure if they're just way worse than the other companies, or if like Waymo's maybe paying people to go show how. But that it doesn't reflect on any of you guys that well. This is an absolute embarrassment. This is the type of thing that should get mayors recalled.
Yeah,
and I mean, we'll get to some bad cases. Hopefully, the videos we have are as bad as this gets. But when pass installed car goes to WL, yeah, no shit. Yeah, well, here let's see this W.
The Waymo's smarter. The Waymo's
so much smarter. Oh my God. Where are we? Meet the Robinsons? Checking in. It's been like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's still there. I'm just going to call it that. I don't think we're going to get a conclusion to this. Like, I think it's going to be here all night. So.
I think we're even able to walk down on the street. That's how long this is going on.
Well, no, this is actually a different video entirely. So we did not get a resolution to that. But I just want to put a peg in. The Cruise is saying that this was a result of, the Outside Lands Festival. But that wasn't the only place their car stalled. Downtown, 10 Cruise cars.
An adorable map, by the way. Just saying.
Right. Yeah, great. One of the boroughs in San Francisco. But, the thing is like, what Cruise can say, like, oh, we're investigating. And I think I'm frozen a little bit. Cruise can say, we're investigating. they don't have any obligation to be telling us the truth. Like they have a business to protect.
Or also, I mean, like, I'm sorry, I know we're gonna like do our holistic take later, but like, this is exactly why we can't have these fucking things on the road. Oh, there was an event in a major U.S. city, right? Oh, there was something unexpected that happened when your vehicle was on the road. Like, this is exactly why we don't want these things on a road, because things happen all the time. Right? Like the other day, I was driving down South Congress, the road I'm on all the time, and there was a big 18-wheeler that was trying, and it was very funny. It was annoying though because it went on for like 10 minutes. But there was like an 18-wheeler that was like continually failing to back up properly into the construction site, right? And I knew exactly what the context and the content of the situation was, which meant I just waited for it to finish. Right? I don't want one of these things having to try to figure out what's going on and just gunning it at the first second it seems like it's open.
Yeah, right? Or some guy at the HQ getting like a 320p resolution feed because the network's jammed, trying to be like, I don't think there's any kids in front of this thing. Yeah, go around it. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we'll just continue a little bit.
People should see this. I don't think people realize how bad it is.
This is a national embarrassment. If I was like, there's all this like talk about like, do you see like the woman saying China is unfairly talking about Hawaii? It's like, no, our failures as a state need to be noted. Like that's my call me
dude.
Crazy.
Fucking Xi is not letting this shit happen on the streets of Beijing.
I would hope not. I mean, I don't like that he's letting Tesla there at all, to be frank. But anyway, that's for another day. I just want to say I like the statement that this guy makes up top.
We're going to get a conclusion to this. Like, I think it's going to be here all night. So.
This is what our country's come to.
It's a wholly different place.
Here's it.
Here's two of them, or maybe three of them, anxiously like navigating around an intersection. People laughing at.
I love that last one, by the way, had like the Black Liberation flag on it.
Which one did? The cruise car?
Yeah, the cruise car, right? I mean, unless I'm confused, right? The black, red, and green flag, the one right before that you were just showing.
Did it really? Did somebody put it on it? Somebody must have put it on it, right?
No. It's painted on it. Go back. Yeah, play it.
Okay.
This is what our country's come to.
You don't see that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're intentional.
Unless it's a different, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
This should just infuriate you as a citizen of this country. I mean, this is real failed state stuff, and it's different from like failed state in like other contexts. What this means is the state has been so hollowed out that these fucking things are doing this right now. Is embarrassing. Is that a police officer trying to deal with this vehicle?
Or at least like a traffic cop of some kind.
Oh my lord.
Oh man, that's so fun though. Can you imagine being part of a crowd that's like watching these things bumper car off each other? Oh, you go, then I'll go. In 30 years, this will be so much better than human drivers.
Oh man, it almost hits back up. Jesus.
And then this final one, which doesn't have audio, is the worst that I've seen. There we go. Okay, it'll be very trepidatious.
Is it going to get up the hill?
Oh, no, it's going to pause right again in the fucking crosswalk. This one, though, look at this. It almost hits. Look at do they not? crosswalk programming should be pretty. It almost hits those people. And then watch this. She has to usher her kids.
Oh my God.
Usher in front of this thing.
I can't deal with this shit.
I don't understand it. And like, I just, people want to read the in-depth piece we sort of alluded to earlier, but the headline here is we're all unwitting and unsafe lab rats in Elon Musk's self-driving car project. I mean, and it's not just Elon's, obviously that's like good for the headline, but like he goes into all these different companies. It's not just Cruise. Like Apple is doing shit, if I remember right. Like, and it's just such an embarrassment. It's such a disgusting giveaway to these companies for such an empty future promise of like, oh no, in the future they're all going to benefit. Fuck that, man. Like,
no, but like it's a really an American disaster. I don't know if you had this highlighted from Bronco's piece, but it's a really important quote from Elon Musk. This is, I guess I can share it on my end. I've read this before. Musk himself probably put it best. In the United States, things are legal by default for investors last year. In Europe, they're illegal by default. So we have to get approval beforehand. Whereas in the United States, you can kind of do it on your own cognizance, more or less. What's Musk talking about, says Bronco? In the EU and countries like Australia, where governments tend to place more of a premium on protecting the customer by regulating industry, it has taken years for Tesla's FSD to gain approval. Even upon finally getting it, the approval has come with strict conditions, including allowing only professional testers to drive them on roads and only a limited number of FSD-equipped cars being made available. No, I mean it's truly embarrassing to the government of this country, to like the state, and I'm not trying to talk too much like a Marxist, but like the ability of like the state to regulate like capital.
Yeah.
To certainly somebody like Pete Buttigieg, who people get really testy, by the way, when you criticize this guy who's supposed to be in charge of these things for some reason.
Right.
And I'm trying to find the piece, but I'll never forget. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, while you say, like, there's some other ones I want to share here.
Yes,
which,
please.
There's
a
few
few
more
more goodies here.
Yeah, like these are just images, but this first one here, there's a bunch of these. If you search Cruise vehicle crosswalk, just parked right there, not seeing it at all. Because why the fuck would it? It's a road. There's nobody to see. But the worst, or the other really bad one, which is like,
yes,
that these things can be like, hacked with traffic cones, is what happens when it starts to say ignore traffic cones because people are using them to fuck with them or something like that. Well, you get a situation like this, which is it blows right into a construction zone and into wet cement. And it's funny that it's in this wet cement, but that means people were working there. And I just think, like, I hope that something happens on this front before it is, one of these things, strafed a construction worker. Like, it's just, it's unbelievable.
No, it's extremely worrying. And like, let me just pull this up really fast. This is what I was talking about, which is this New York Times report. This was from what riding in a self-driving Tesla tells us about the future of autonomy. And this is from November 14th, 2022. And I remember when I first got suggested this piece, I was like, oh, this is going to be a kind of triumphant piece about all the incredible technology that's being developed. And without going too deep into it, the person who they're interviewing and driving around with is this guy named Chuck Cook, who is a big Tesla guy. Like, he thinks this shit's super cool. But in this piece where they were driving around with him, they come into these extremely dangerous situations. So, like, here's one example. Wait, sorry. Can you see this? Yeah.
Oh, I saw this one. Is this the one where he's like, did you just save us from dying? He's like, yeah, aren't you happy?
So I don't know if you can see this, but he gets off of the road and starts driving. The Tesla starts driving the parking lot. After driving around the motel, the car almost immediately made the same mistake, jerking into the lot this time. And then this, if you see in the top left, Chuck takes control of the car. If you see, there's barriers right there. And there's multiple examples of this, of it just sort of struggling to be able to drive. And if you can see here, this is what it is. The computer system is thinking is going on. Is why it gets confused. And look, I will give something to people I usually don't. It's interesting as a kind of technological experiment to mess around with these kind of things, right? It's interesting in like a general sense.
Yeah.
It's insanely unsafe to have, like, look, thank God that this guy behind the wheel there was able to rectify the situation, was paying attention instead of being on his phone or playing a fucking video game on the iPad that they put inside of those vehicles. But it's extremely dangerous to be testing this out on our roads. As Bronco notes in his piece, there have been multiple accidents already with these technologies, something like 736. And these things aren't mass adopted at this point. So those are like large numbers. They're creating hell when it comes to traffic and all these kind of videos. And they're also, here's where I get really pissed, honestly, Matt. Like, I will be honest that, like, the videos are funny, but like, whatever, some goofy things happen at intersections. This is where it starts to piss me off.
Mm-hmm.
When it's fucking up people who are working extremely hard in our society to keep things going.
Right. Teamsters
to Cruise, get your act together. Great video here, because they struggle when you put a little guy on top of the the thing. You know about this, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Teamsters Local 350, which represents all of the sanitation workers in San Francisco, is calling on the autonomous vehicle company Cruise to take measures to prevent more alarming incidents with its vehicle from occurring within the city. The union is making the demand following numerous instances of Cruise AVs blocking waste and recycling trucks, including a notable intersection at this intersection of Van Ness Avenue and Hayes Street. Let's see if we can play this.
Anyway, so I have 3 guys here stuck right behind me. I don't think they know what they're doing here. I'm just gonna wait and see what happens. I can't move it.
Sorry, I want to play the rest of this video, but like, what's really funny about these cars is how they seem to like accumulate whenever this happens. It's like all the videos that we've played and the other ones that I've seen, it's just like there's one and then like 4 more show up as it goes on. I don't know. Endlessly comical to me.
Truck, because I got my container up in the air.
Jokes aside, like, this is literally stopping somebody from doing crucial work in our society, from being able to do his job. For these fucking assholes to play around with their toys,
I got the whole
ridiculous.
Right, exactly. Like, it's so wild to me, like the discrepancy this society has between protesters protesting for climate change, blocking the road, for instance. So, well, run them the fuck over. Yeah. But a fucking tech company wants to just fucking surveil your community to try to make its robot better. And then it's just like, well,
never get inside one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think you might have a death wish if you are getting in them.
I mean, and like, there's a certain person who really gets excited by technology, and like to them, it's like, look, I can, in my mind, understand the idea that these things would possibly be better in certain situations than humans. I think you might overstate the ease at which they can get that last 90% of a human and better. And the point is, they need to prove that shit over and over again in test conditions that are strictly administered. And also, this cannot be done for investor profit. This is a human transportation issue that needs to be taken over entirely by, like, probably the state that has funded a lot of this fundamental research. I would just hazard a guess.
So, whenever these conversations get brought up, people are always sort of like, well, maybe these robots will be better than humans, right? Yeah. And all I'll say to that is this. It's like, look, I drive, I live in the part of the country where you drive to get by. I know most of our listeners do as well. Maybe people in pretty much like New York might be like the one exception in this country where you can really get by without a vehicle.
Yep.
I understand the complaints about human drivers in general, right? But all I'll say to you is this, is if you think people are bad drivers, these things are way worse. And if you are doing any kind of comparison, we are just so amazing at doing this kind of thing because they do not have the competency or the context or the intelligence to understand what's going on around them. This is like literally the entirety of the segment has been showing like, yeah, you know, maybe in like a general context of like driving in a controlled environment with like clear parameters as to what you're doing. Like, yeah, like an artificial intelligence, if, you know, I know we don't like giving them that PR by calling it that, whatever.
Right.
You know, can be like, oh, that's impressive, right? But being able to have the competency to say, oh shit, there's a street festival going on in San Francisco, or this is a red light and this is a green light, understanding where you are at, or frankly, like doing something that is extremely dangerous where a lot of accidents happen, changing lanes, right? When I am driving, if I see there's a car in the right lane next to me and I know that that lane is about to end, I know, hey, I have to make a decision. I can either be an asshole and like box them in, or I can let them in front of me, right? And on the, like, you know, this is just kind of basic like human interaction with one another. And like sometimes people are dicks and they will like try to push you into that kind of thing. But I also know, and I'm not suggesting this as like a driving etiquette thing, I also know that if I pull in front of that car, they're going to press the brake. And I don't trust these things to do that at all. Or I also don't trust them as you're seeing them fail on city roads where you're going 15, 20, 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
To not hit a full stop on a highway where people are going 75, 80 miles. Like that is a disaster waiting to happen. You know, if the cruise gets confused when it's on a highway. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, let's do a cold watch. So I got this video downloaded. It's a news segment on Waymo. I'm interested in Waymo because I see people in the comments saying like, oh yeah, Tesla is unsafe compared to Waymo, or Cruise is dumb compared to Waymo, and that Waymo thing happened. And then I just do one search. So let's just cold watch this segment here from New at 5.
5. A driverless Waymo vehicle goes rogue with a passenger inside.
Oh my God.
The company told the passenger inside, who was inside the van at the time, that it got confused with cones that were blocking one lane. Fox 10's Irene Snyder has been looking into all this. She spoke with that passenger today, and she joins us live with more. I think people are becoming a little more comfortable with the idea of these self-driving cars, but they're not infallible.
That's exactly right. Well, this passenger that we spoke with says he's actually not afraid of them, even despite what happened to him. He took a video that we're going to show you in a little bit. While this was all happening, he explained to us what was going through his mind in that moment. A driverless Waymo taxi cruising through Chandler made an unexpected detour.
Oh, so how are we going to turn right when the right lane is closed off?
Went to the Safeway and back, and on my way back from the Safeway, it tried to turn right, but the lane it wanted to turn into was blocked by cones.
Passenger Joel Johnson bracing himself in the back seat. He couldn't do anything to stop the rogue car.
It blocked like halfway between lanes, and then eventually it backed up to block the full lane.
Well, I don't think it was supposed to do that.
And that's where it stopped. Johnson taking this video from inside the car while waiting for
so for folks listening, I mean, this is the nightmare scenario. Imagine if these cones were like protecting workers, shoveling shit into the fucking asphalt. He is now halfway in the active lane and halfway in the lane being protected. If someone were to rear end him, it would send him flying into that area. Mm-hmm. I mean,
Gonna escape.
And when they arrived, the car decided to make for a quick getaway.
They almost got to the car, and then it drove away again, and then it was just like it's just a whole mess.
The Waymo company has about 600 vehicles. 300 of those operate in the Chandler, Gilbert, Mesa, and Tempe area. The company has a remote assistance team to help confuse vehicles, but the company told Johnson that in this case, a remote specialist gave incorrect guidance and made it hard for the Waymo to get back on track.
Confused vehicle. And
I love that being on the road.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And it's also good to know that, yes, actually there is a human, We're not going to unionize those folks. Maybe sitting on their ass in some fucking office suite somewhere, being like, yeah, just go.
Just hit it.
Yeah, just goose it a little bit like he's driving a fucking RC car. I mean, let's finish that out. There's 30 seconds left of this segment.
Johnson says despite this bump in the road, he'll continue to ride in these self-driving cars, and he does feel safe.
Don't write off the technology. It's still in development. I have over 1,000 miles in these cars, so I still trust it all the way. So yeah, don't write it off just because of one thing like this.
It's a bit self-selecting there.
Well, I'm happy that he feels safe, but I don't.
Yeah, no. I love the people putting cones on this. I'll just say, like, crack open the carapace of one of those things.
I mean, I don't know where that was from. Is that like in Mesa, Arizona?
Arizona, yep.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll say this. It's like, look, I'm all for, I understand like why some people might be excited by this, but I'll tell you, the solution is goddamn trains. It is just getting trains. So yes, I understand like the feeling of like, I don't want to have to be able to drive. I don't want to drive everywhere, whatever. Trains. There's nothing else on them.
Also, like, look, the one way I will accept this is if like a union of like Uber, Lyft, and taxi drivers had developed the technology, and it was safe. But like, I don't understand. Take a fucking cab. Like, why do you need to not have a driver there, especially at this point? Like, it's because it's technology fetish.
It's labor saving technology, and it's worse. It's worse than Uber or Lyft, and it's worse than a taxi. It's extremely dangerous. I mean, look, I'll just say this: if you're watching this and you're not a patron, and if we've made this public later, and you're like on the fence, and you're getting mad at us for being against technology, listen to our conversation with Dwayne Monroe, who breaks down the actual like logistical problems with quote unquote artificial intelligence. And basically what he gets down to is that the processing power of these new machines and technologies is very impressive, right? And like, I think both of us like can agree that like, it's impressive that computers can sort of do certain kind of things, but there is a massive difference between human consciousness and what these machines do. Like, I can give like multiple examples. It's like, I can understand I'm in a school zone or I'm in this kind of in a residential neighborhood. The vehicles, they don't have that kind of concept. They have pure code, right? And that doesn't allow them to understand where they're at and what's going on. Maybe a more pertinent example would be when I'm driving in Austin, I drive very different from how I drive when I'm in Houston. When I'm in Houston, I know how drivers act. Right. And drivers in Houston drive very differently than Austin, not even trying to get into why. Right. It's a bigger city, blah, blah, blah. Right. People are more aggressive there because it's usually backed up. But I know that people are going to do wild things in Houston and change lanes really fast and push their way through traffic and all this kind of stuff. So I know when I'm driving in Houston, I got to be paying way more attention than just sort of like, I'm in my lane, I'm going straight. Right. New York City is a great example of this. You've been in a vehicle with honestly, like think about the difference that you've had, Matt, like driving around New York, when you have a taxi driver versus like an Uber driver in New York, night and day, right? The taxi drivers are wild, right? They're like jumping in and out of traffic, all this kind of stuff because they understand the context. Having one of these goddamn things in there, not being able to understand the situation that they're in, the scenario that they're in is extremely, extremely dangerous. And it's a failed state kind of thing to let these guys, as Elon Musk says, to say, well, the United States, basically everything is legal until it's made illegal. That's a failure of government, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, it's so annoying.
And for what?
For investor profits.
Yeah.
For the hope that one of these things is going to be the next Google and pay all these motherfuckers money for nothing.
And all these city governments are letting these people do this, like on their, and it's tough. Like I know here in Texas, there's like restrictions on how much the city can sort of regulate these things, which is insane. I don't know if that's the case in other places, but it's bad.
Right. That's horrible.